Welcome back to another Arcane Odyssey video in this content drought. I actually saw something pretty interesting happening in the Trello patch notes, and not gonna lie, I think this is actually a good change. Now, what is it? What's the change? Well, if you all, I'm pretty sure everyone knows what attack speed is. Attack speed. Change the speed of your attacks. This changes basically everything about speed. So it changes how fast you cast a spell. That was charging that. Changes that. It changes how long it takes to cast your spell, which is casting speed, and also it changes your end lag. So like, how long do you stay in the air after casting a spell? So it like moves like this, or like a move like this, it affects it way more. Like slower moves, it makes a big difference. And also for stuff like let's say slower magics, or like slower fighting cells, or slower weapons, it affects them large, like huge. And attack speed also affects how fast a projectile is. So it doesn't really affect explosions, but it does affect stuff like projectiles, so blasts, this colossal cleave, for example, as well as maybe even this. It also affects like the movement speed. So something like this, or a flash strike. I haven't played this game for 2 months. Okay, it affects that as well, like the range of that. Well, attack speed is being split across 2 different stats. Well, technically it's all being split. Yeah, basically attack speed is being changed to casting speed, and agility is being changed to range or magic speed in this case. It's like accuracy is being deleted, therefore agility is being deleted, but actually it's being just changed again. They're changing agility. They first thought of accuracy, which is literal aimbot. So it auto aims for you, which is absurd. But no, that is not what's happening. What is happening is attack speed is being split across 2 different stats, which is casting speed and like projectile speed. And projectile speed is interesting. Projectile speed is basically like it affects the range of it, as well as it affects the projectile speed of it. And this will replace anything that had agility or anything that had accuracy. So basically anything that currently has attack speed as a stat will now have casting speed. So something, let's say this drowned charged attack speed amulet, it will now turn into a casting speed amulet. So it will affect only the time it takes for me to cast my spells and the end lag that my spells have. And the other one, which is agility, will now affect, basically agility is being turned into projectile speed. So anything that has agility as a stat will now basically have range. And range affects both the speed of the projectile as well as the range of it. So I would just call that projectile speed, or it's called range, but it's like, I feel like this projectile speed or something like that would be better, but it should have a better name anyways. But basically it just has faster projectile speed and it has range. If like whatever was agility, it's now that. What's happening? Why did I spawn here? So what was I saying? Help. Okay. Yeah, so basically anything that had attack speed will have casting speed. and casting speed will only affect like a move startup and end lag, whereas range, but from agility, so basically agility will be changed to range, which will only affect the projectile speed, the range, along with stuff like the beam range and dash attack. So basically like, you know, the range of, let's say, crash, or let's say like this, what do you call it, flash strike. It'll affect that range. And that's basically how it worked back in our what was it, World of Magic. That's exactly how it worked in World of Magic. There were actually two stats, and like one was casting speed and one was like basically just projectile speed. And I like this change. I actually really like this change. Yeah, I attack speed has been kind of a really big problem in Arcane Odyssey for a while. Like it's literally just a meta. Like even if it gets nerfed a tiny bit, it's been a meta since a long time. And for me personally, I never really liked it. Like full attack speed builds, and I think it will have much more unique, you know, builds in this case, because what a lot of people would just do with with just attack speed is they would just run attack speed, power, and a little bit of defense across all their builds. There was no creativity needed to do anything. It's just the same build works across basically any class, any type of build, any savant, any warlord, warrior, whatever. It's just the same build. What this will do, however, is this is basically splitting attack speed into two parts, and this will make, you know, like some things are more important for others than others. So for example, for warriors, if you're using slower weapons, maybe like the casting speed is really important. Or let's say for like an earth mage, they don't really need casting speed as much as they need projectile speed. So for earth mages, or like, you know, just earth users, just slow magic users that want to use projectile stuff, they'll use range more. So like it's been split across two stats, and so that means it also means that the EP of it is basically halved in terms of attack speed. Like basically you can't run a full attack speed build anymore. If you want the old attack speed back, it's gonna cost a lot more stats, which I personally like that. As well as size is also technically is getting a nerf, but it's a really good one. Like basically they're gonna have a default size. Let's say that is your default size. Now let's say if you do have like a lot more size, okay, now you see that's the size of the crater there, but if I try here, see that extra amount there, this will be now like that extra amount added from size. It will now have diminishing returns based on how far you are away from the initial crater. So within this small amount, it's like this is 0 size, you will deal 100% of the damage. Like basically if the damage deals, let's say 100 damage, it will be 100 damage no matter where you are located in, as long as you're within the area of it. But let's say in here, let's say I turn on my full size here, and let's do it here. Okay, so you see how small that one is. So let's say I'm standing over here. Well, it is gonna hit me, but it's a certain distance away from the small amount, like basically 0 size amount, right? So let's say I'm standing over here. Let's say I hit this. So like here, it is gonna hit me. But if you remember, the initial crater was somewhere like here. That size, the size added to that like AoE is basically gonna be a percentage. So if I'm standing over here, if I'm like on the edge of it, it's gonna deal like maybe like 10% of the damage. Or if I'm dealing right at the edge, 0, like basically 0%, which means size has also been gigantic. Like it's also got a gigantic nerf. But I think that's great because since attack speed got gutted, which it used to be the biggest problem in this game. I would say. People would then run size, but size also got nerfed. So everything got nerfed, which is good. So nothing is overpowered anymore. If you didn't understand from me showing the crater, I made a whole diagram. This took me like an hour to make. So obviously I have an initial size. That part will deal 100% damage no matter what. And when you add size to it, it will have diminishing returns until it reaches the edge of it, where you can see it's 0% damage. This is great. This is awesome. And this is going to destroy a lot of metas, which I think is really good. That means we're all gonna start on a fresh slate when full release does come around. When will that happen? So the size change, it's like it also fixes one of the bigger problems, which like if attack speed got nerfed, then the next thing that would become meta is size. People will just run size. You just have nuclear attacks, and that's also not fun. We would just see like metal mages, earth mages all the time. They deal like 500 damage a hit, and they have like the size of like Munera Garden basically. So that's not fun at all, right? Like both attack speed and attack size they basically got a huge nerf, and I think that's honestly a good thing because they both were really problematic right now at level 140. Yeah, what was gonna happen at level 180? But that's because that's what full release will end off at. It'll be at 185, I think. I feel like these changes are pretty cool, and stuff like there's also some just intensity. The name is being changed to haste, which makes sense because now it only affects like the cooldown, and like they're changing. Okay, so casting speed, so attack speed will now be called the dexterity. That's cool. Makes sense because it makes you more dexterous. You can use more moves faster because the times are less, like the casting speed times are less. And yeah, they're also adding a new spell called hover, but yeah, that's like that's a World of Magic spell that's now being put here, which is really cool. But yeah, I just want to make a video on this because like this is like a big change. No more aimbot stuff, no more accuracy, which is nice. I'm glad that didn't go through because there was one huge problem with it. What if there's a new spell called barrage. You shoot like 100 projectiles. What if you use light barrage like repeatedly with, let's just say, like max out agility, or max out aimbot, which is accuracy? That would be fun to fight against. That would be the meta. Like just blind the enemy and just 24/7 like that. Just be blinded 24/7. Flashbang Odyssey. Yeah, that would be really fun. But that's never gonna happen. Glad that we didn't see that happen at all. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this short update on Trello. On the Trello, I guess. I have no idea what other type of content I'm gonna make other than this until full release. So yeah, I'm considering trying other RPG games, but honestly, when I'm looking at them, they don't bring, like, they're not as much fun to make videos on as Arcane Odyssey. Like, genuinely, it's just not as fun. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe because I'm so close to 10k. Okay, bye.